you see, I've had a very, how shall I say, varied life and experience, but I think I've been open to things. Uh, Friends here in Carmel, the Lloyds, as they are now, were very well known. Marjorie was a journalist, and this is the Frank and Marjorie Lloyd. And Frank, of course, became my mayor pro tem later on. And he was the one who was called the beach master, because he knew more about the beach and he was on the beach more than anybody else. And he called me and said, there are friends of mine sailing to Hawaii in a schooner, and they've lost really their last crew member. Why don't you go? And this is shortly after my mother died. And I was there in the house and so on, and thought, well, why don't I? But I had an ear infection, and a Pebble Beach doctor, very well known but not very good, just sent me off anyway, and I had to be tied in when it was my turn at the tiller. And we didn't see anybody or anything almost all the way over. And at those days, we navigated by sextant. And not only did we spring a leak out there in the middle of the ocean, and if you look at a map, I mean, the Hawaiian Islands are just little fly specks in a big bunch of blue. But we almost missed all the islands. Barely saw the big Hawaiian island, and finally got around back to Honolulu. But that was an experience too, to say the least. We finally, the man who and his wife who had the boat, when we had the leak, they took their cigarettes that had gotten salt water in them and put them up on the deck, and to let them dry out, these little brown worms. And I had smoked until then, and I decided, no thank you. But then we went over to the big island, Alinui the channel, where he thought he was going to do some work. And I was on my own by then, and at that time there were none of the big hotels there. There were only ladders on the beach and sand and weeds and things of that kind. But I had a friend who was living at the airport, and I needed to get back. In order to get back to the United States, I was going to crew on one of the Transpac yachts, because to deliver those boats home is quite a problem. You have to go really far north to catch the prevailing winds. When you go to Hawaii, you go south, but you have to go there north. Anyway, there was this one called the Ticonderoga, and I thought I was going to have a ride on her. But this friend found a ride for me in a P-36, you know, the Flying Tigers. And the pilot, there was just a little space behind the pilot seat where they used to keep stuff and where I could squeeze in with my one little suitcase. And he said, oh, well, did you get to see Haleakala? Wait a minute, what is the name of the volcano? Is that Haleakala? Anyway, I said, gee, no, we were on a sailboat. We didn't get to see anything like that. So we took the plane and went right around in the inside of the crater. So I got to see it then. Then when I got to Honolulu, I had to find a place to live, which was very difficult, and a job. Oh, first of all, I was going to go back on the Ticonderoga, but this same friend called up and said, you're not going home on the Ticonderoga. And I said, why? He said, it's an all-woman crew. I said, great, terrific. He said, they're lesbians. So I did not go home on that boat. Then I had to find a job, which I did. That's also my work experience. Standing on a concrete floor, renting cars to tourists. And finding a place to live, I found an apartment that was so full of the creepy crawlies. I mean, you'd hear them in the middle of the night, and if you opened an oven door, why, they'd come running out and all the rest. By the time I got the place cleaned up, I finally had collected enough money, you know, to fly home. Which to me, after sailing out there, that was a terrible experience. You got in a box and went, and in a few hours there you were back home again. But that's in my job description, car rental agent.